Hi guys, welcome to today's video. So today we are painting some more roses. Yesterday we did the beginners ones and today we are doing this more advanced version. So I have created some kind of stencils or just things that you can trace, and so that will be linked in my Etsy shop below. And so you can see here that I have just pulled up on the computer screen and I have enlarged it here, and then I'm just tracing it straight off the computer screen here very lightly, obviously, so it doesn't damage anything. And my favorite way to trace them is just to hold them up to a window. So just print them out, hold them up to a window. I'll link a video below where I show this, and I did this all year last December with the Matryoshka dolls as well. But where my desk is, there's like a window seat, so I've kind of got to lean over to the window, or kind of walk around and look for a better window, and then I may not come back to the video. So the best and safest way is just to get it done as quick as possible. So yeah, I just did it off the computer screen. I also enjoyed enlarging it, so because I wanted to be able to paint it a little bit bigger, so I think that's easier, you know, through the camera. But I'm also showing you here these. So this peony I have been asked about quite a few times, and it's going to be very similar to what we do today. So I am showing you the printable booklet here, and I will link this under the video, but you can see there's a variety of different florals and frames and emblems, and here are the peonies. So we will paint these on the channel at some point, but if you want to get a head start, this is the same kind of approach. And I will show you here that I actually used Neocolor 2s to paint here. So yeah, today we'll be using watercolor, and we'll be doing it in more of a traditional way. So we'll be just using water and no whites. So I just want to show you that, you know, that this is a really nice way to paint as well. I often use white, and I really like shell pink, which is a pink mixed with white, but we're just going to use a very more traditional colors today anyway. So here you can see this is how I did the Dahlia, and I really loved creating it, and I really loved these. So this is the Neocolor 2s, and basically I just created a palette like this. So and you can see like barely, you know, that's barely made a dent in the actual crayons, but so these will last you a long time if you want to, you know, if you have like student grade and you want to get something a little bit more artist grade, this is a really affordable way to do that. So you can just make a little palette like this, and you can make these squares as large or, you know, small as you want, and then just keep layering and layering color. And yeah, then you just can lift the color straight off this little palette and use it in the artwork. So I will show you like straight onto this artwork here how you can do that. So the colors here, I am not exactly sure. I'll try and link them below, but I think this one is like a light pink, and then we have like the salmon, and then the next one is light beige and light silver, and then a bronze. I think it's something like that. So and so you can see there how light those layers were. So I just kept doing that very lightly and building up like that. So these colors would also work for the rose that we're doing today as well. So I'll be using this palette, which I have swatched out, but I'm going to do an updated version because I've changed quite a few things and I'm really happy with it at the minute. But you can see I've kind of got two palettes here layered together so that I can get to the colors that I wanted to use. So we're going to use the Smith Sedona to start with. So this is like a burnt sienna type color, and you can see here this is a little bit light, but I'm just kind of showing you that I'm going into the middle of this flower here, and we're starting with kind of the inner part of the petals where it's a little bit darker, and the shadow often looks like this kind of browny, pinky brown sort of a color. So we are finding places where the petal is folding, and then there will be this kind of deeper shadow color in, you know, underneath the sort of curl area. Okay, so I am grabbing some of the Daniel Smith permanent rose madder, and we are mixing those together throughout the process you want to continually mix little extra bits of color together so that it doesn't just look like one flat mix that you've used. So you're constantly kind of changing up the ratio a little bit, you know, with the colors that you're using. So, and you can see here how carefully that I am and slowly that I'm doing this, but then I'll also speed it up here, otherwise we'd been here for quite a while. So this is a longer process, so you probably do this over several sittings. You can do the first layer and then maybe come back the next day or the next week and do the next layer. Okay, so you can see that I am dropping in a little bit of colour there and using a wet brush that I have dried on the paper towel and just softening that into the rest of the petal there as well to get a nicer, deeper shadow on that edge. And now I'm taking a little bit of the Daniel Smith French Ochre, and I love the French Ochre because it's transparent and light, so when I want to use it for mixes it's not making the painting heavy. And then because we're going to the outer petals now, I want a little bit lighter of a value here, so I'm, you know, mixing in a little bit of that lighter neutral. And yeah, again, just finding the parts where the so we're not using the part where the petal has curled over, we're using, that's going to be where the highlights are and the more pinker part of the petal. We're looking for the inner part of the petal that has what looks like a curl or a fold on the side of it. And one of the other good things about sketching it, and the fact that the sketch is already there for you, is that you can, you know, practice this and do it as many times as you need to. And you can also, like, just doing the sketch and following those lines, you'll kind of learn about the anatomy of that rose. Okay, so once we have all those kind of rose ochre tones in the middle, we're gonna go to start using we're gonna go to the outer petals and start using the something like a Quin Rose, very watered down. So this is the Daniel Smith Permanent Rose Madder, but you can use any kind of this warmer, pinker red. So you would have one of these in a student grade, like just a beginner's set. You'll have something like this that you can, and it will work the same way with a lot of water. The more water you use, the softer this color will be. So I'm also adding a touch of yellow here. This is the Schmincke Lemon Yellow, and just for a little tiny bit of vibrancy in the petals here. So you can see that especially in the outer petals, I want more, and I'm also showing you here, I don't use the shell pink much in this one, but I am showing you here how you can use this as well. So there's, you know, there's so many different ways to paint something like this, and the roses that we did yesterday are a really great place to start. So you can see here that I've dropped some more color in, then I have I've wiped my brush off on the paper towel to get any moisture out of it, and then I'm just softening those edges there. But yesterday's video, I will link it below as well. It's for beginners roses, and that's going to be the perfect place to start to try and figure out colors, and to try and figure out, you know, which colors you want to use and how you want to paint these types of things. So one thing that I forgot to mention is that I did my sketch with the Faber-Castell Graphite Aquarelle, probably in a 2B. This is my favorite pencil that I just use all the time. I really enjoy it. But if you don't like the look of the graphite, you can use like another type of watercolor pencil. So maybe like the Caran d'Ache Supercolor Soft in the Granite Rose or something like that, that's going to give you the pink lines already to start with. I can also erase a little bit of this just with a, just kind of with pressing an eraser onto the page, so not really rubbing into the line, but just pressing it down, and some of that line will lift off. But I think that kind of this graphite, because I've used it so much, and I used it for the frames and I've used it for everything, I think it's become a little bit of my style, so I really don't mind having that in there. I remember in the beginning I always wanted to use a watercolor pencil that matched the color so that I could get rid of the lines, but yeah, I don't really mind it anymore. So the other thing that I should mention is you can see the palette here. I like to put the color down on the palette, so even if I am using just that one color, like the permanent rose madder, I still want to put the color down and mix it with water. So, and you can also see that my palette beads up, that I haven't sort of used anything to stop that, because I really just don't mind the way that it does that, and then I can pick and choose from the colors. So yeah, but you can see here that I'm keeping mixing. So around the edge petals here, I continue to mix different varieties of this, just the same three colors we've been using, and more water. So I'm adding more water to get a softer version of that kind of rose ochre color here. And you'll also see when we zoom out that the left side of the rose is where my light source is coming from, so those petals are lighter to start with. So you can see here that I'm also lifting out as much as putting colour in. I'll also clean and dry my brush and then lift out colour around where the highlights would be in the petals. Okay, so once we have done the outer rim, so I kind of start in the center with the darker ones, go to the outer rim and do the lighter ones, and then I'm coming back into the center with these same light values and the really watered down washes, and adding in those curling petals. So the top petals that will be pinker, that will be soft and light. And we're just doing the same thing. So I'm putting on the wash, I will lift out a bit of the highlight in the middle, and then I might add a little bit of a deeper color to the edge where it's curling. Okay, so once that's done, we need to wait for the whole thing to dry, and then we can continue to glaze on top and add layers and add shadows and add depth to this. So one of the things, and I kind of quickly go through this side petal, the side flower as well, but one of the things that I didn't mention as well is that I don't do the petals that are next to each other. So I'm not I'm not wanting the color to bleed in from one petal to another. I just want that petal to be created and then to dry and be its own petal. So you can see here that I am starting the whole process again, where I just wet the entire petal and then I'm dropping in shadow colors and kind of, so if the petal was pink, then I want a little bit of maybe French Ochre or a little bit of the Sedona in that petal to kind of change the color notes a little bit of the petal and where the shadows are and the highlights. Just to create a little bit of movement. So you can see the color palette is quite limited, but it still needs to move around the flower. Okay, so you can see here that this is quite a lengthy process, so I wanted to do a lot of this in real time so that you could see, you know, just take your time with it, add the water in, add some colour in, lift some colour out, and just continue doing that around the petals. So you can see that after these glazes have done, and when I go in to do another layer, I'm putting a little touches of the really soft pink in the shadow areas there. Okay, so now I'm going back into the center of the rose and to these shadows, and I am using a little bit of the Sedona that's not very watered down. I'm using slightly more of a dry brush technique here where the brush is fairly dry, and I'm just adding little hints of the color here and there. So right in, you know, just to sharpen up those contours. Okay, so we're getting to a part that I really enjoy, which is creating some more shadows and some more movement through the rose, but I wasn't exactly sure here. I tried a few different things. So I tried the cool grey tourmaline from Colours of the Iron range with a little bit of the permanent rose, and I wasn't really loving that for a shadow colour for this rose. So this is again another way, you know, yesterday's roses will come into really help in this, because this is one of the really important things I think that makes or breaks a painting, is the accent colours, the shadow colours, and how they sort of impact the overall painting. So even if the technique is really lovely, you know, you want to also make sure that the color is really inviting. So I think this is something, and you know, we've talked about color and color mixing a lot on the channel, and you can see that I do spend a long time trying to find the exact right shade or the right mix for the project. And because everything that's been going on this month with trying to film and trying to get ready for December, I feel like I needed probably, I mean, really I could have spent another 3 or 4 hours just trying to find the right shadow colors here. So what I ended up going with was this mix here, which I've been really loving all year. It's the Turner Pale Wisteria and Hematite Violet. And it creates this really taupe kind of color. It's a cool brown, so I really like it. And you can see here that I'm using it around, so I'll pick a petal, and it won't matter how many petals or what is, you know, underneath that petal. I just follow the rim of that petal, if that makes sense. So there might be 2 or 3 other petals and petals that are curling underneath it. And instead of stopping or starting, I just go right around the petal there, and that helps to form the shadow, and it helps to kind of inform the viewer that there is, you know, more form, that it's more three-dimensional. And I got a sort of question about this the other day. Sometimes I am a little bit scatterbrained in the videos, because I have been filming probably since this video. I may have filmed 7 other videos, and that is like hundreds of little snippets of film that all have to be edited and you know, organized. So yeah, sometimes like I'm going back to this video and I can't exactly remember bits and pieces, and I'm voiceovering this, but I'm probably thinking about other videos I'm planning or ones that I might have just filmed as well. So it all gets a little bit difficult there, but yeah. So this is again, you know, we're just going around, we're choosing kind of where to put the shadows as well. So you don't have to do it for every single petal. I'm just kind of picking and choosing where I want to do them. Sometimes I'll also make the shadow lighter, you can see there, and then I will start to also introduce back in that Sedona, or again mixes from the rose. And so the very last thing that I did, which I don't know what happened to the footage, but I did use a tiny bit of the Van Dyke brown right in the center to create those middle petals and just a little bit of depth there, and again in that kind of more dry brushing way. So the brush was not very wet at all, and yeah, there was, you know, quite a bit, you know, an intense and saturated version of the Van Dyke brown, and I just added just a touch of it in the center there. So what we're going to do now, and I want to show you a different way to use these stencils, so, or I don't know what to call them, just printables, but traceables. So you can use these if you don't have like a piece of paper. Say you wanted to sketch this into your sketchbook, you can turn it over, use the side of the pencil here, and just kind of put down some graphite, depending on the paper in your sketchbook. And you'll have to kind of try this. You can maybe try it with just a little bit of one of the emblems, but you will have to maybe put a little bit more, like a stronger, a thicker, you know, pencil, like more pencil down, because when I started it here, it wasn't actually even transferring, so I had to add more. And yeah, a firm hand, but you can see like on the paper in this sketchbook, when I pressed as hard as I needed to get this to transfer, it left a little bit of an indent in the paper. So that's why I prefer, you know, using a window or using the computer or something. But this is a really good way if this is just for a sketchbook and it's not for necessarily like a finished painting. This is a really nice way. Okay, so I'll just let you watch this, but I'm just gonna show you here how, if the other one is a little bit intense and you want to do just a more fun version, a lighter version of it, you can just kind of do the outline and then create something like this, where you do paint it more loosely and then add the gold ink over the top as well. So, and I'm sorry for the thing bumping a few times. I think I was having visitors in and out, and it kept getting bumped, so sorry about that. Okay, so the last thing we do here is add the gold ink around to kind of you know, line out this rose, and then that's pretty much it. So we have kind of two different versions from the one printable, and you know how you can kind of enlarge it if you want to. You can also use it at the, because I drew it at kind of the realistic size of that rose, and you can actually see some of these roses. They were from the ones that we grew in our garden. They're on my Instagram, and we actually got them from Heirloom Roses, so I can't remember which variety they were, but I'll try and link it below because that is also a really good Christmas gift. Yeah, and so I got a few kind of bushes of the roses, and they actually come to you with no roses left on them, and then you plant them, and we started getting roses within the first summer, so I think we must have got them maybe in the spring. And yeah, so that's a really good gift. And quite often, you know, like the whole family would go out there and be pruning them and caring for them, and it was just a really nice you know, added thing. So we're not at that home anymore, but I think that the people who are there will still be enjoying them. So yeah, that is just something to keep in mind as well. I'll try and figure out the variety and link that below. Yeah. So I think the last thing that I do here, after I did this one and added the emblem, I wanted to actually add the emblem as well on the paper that I did. So I did it kind of vertically because that's just the size of paper that I had, and then when I enlarged it, that's kind of the way that it fit onto the paper. But I still wanted to add the emblem, so I ended up at this stage after the, so you don't want to add the emblem on top of the rose, you know, trace it on there before you paint it. You want to paint everything, and then you can go back in and trace the emblem, and I have overlapped it so that the emblem will be sitting on top of the petals. And yeah, did the same thing and added the gold ink. So I'm using the Winsor & Newton gold ink with the dip pen so the nibs are from Jet Pens. You can see here, I'm just doing it the same way, but I don't necessarily love this way for, did I mention that? For like finished pieces like this. I think I did get a little bit of transfer just on other places on the paper, so you want to just be careful for that. That's why I like kind of using the window to actually trace it on. And you get sort of a cleaner line as well, like you kind of know exactly what you're doing. But anyway, let's see. So, and yeah, what was I saying? So the nibs I get from Jet Pens, I will link below, and the pen holder I get from Jackson's, and I think they're sold out since the last time I linked them. But guys, I really appreciate it if you will use the Jackson's affiliate link so that I can replenish supplies, try new supplies to share with you. And for those of you who do use it, I really appreciate it. It's just that little extra that really helps with things for the channel. And let's see, so yeah, that's our finished piece here. I really love it with the gold overlapping over the top of it actually. And then these are some pieces that will be in, they were supposed to be up in Etsy today, but it's just, this has been a big week. So, and I used the gold foil, and it was really lovely to create these. So these should be up on Monday. I think I'll do a little video just kind of introducing them and talking a little bit about how I created them. And yeah, I will see you guys next week. Have a really lovely weekend. Bye.